With forbearance, thank you, councillors. I'm not sure what time we paused then, but that was entirely appropriate for us. And I'm going to call for a mover and a seconder to receive the report, and I'm also going to foreshadow that I wish to speak to the report. You'll move, you'll second. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Right. All right. Yes.
Just a point of clarification, really. This is a substantial document to receive on the night of the meeting. And it would have behoved Council to at least have let us have it for 24 hours. Just, I mean, to get your head around, look at the size of the print, look at the detail. To get our head around that tonight is just too much. It's pushing the limit of what we should and shouldn't be doing as guardians of the city.
So if you look at the two motions, Councillor Serenk, all we're really doing is receiving the report and then agreeing to take these concepts out to the public.
Chance to look at the three possible options.
We're not.
I mean, how can we go out, just decide like that, when we haven't had a chance to mull over ourselves what these three options? It may have been a compromise of two or three melded together, but we haven't got a lot of time to make up our mind.
The result of consultation will be, it could be a morphing of the three options. There could be little bits of options that we've received feedback that people prefer. Yes. Need to receive the report. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. Thank you. It's carried.
Point of order.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe this. My point of order is this is being presented to this council. It has not yet gone before our Policy and Finance Committee, which is where the matter should properly be considered.
Don't have to accept that because to me it's very clear, and I'll make the ruling that this is only agreeing to go out to consultation. So Jean-Paul, would you like to speak to the report?
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, just before we start, and it's a message to those who are watching this through the live streaming, we have actually put this presentation just a few minutes ago up on our website. So the presentation, if anyone is watching through the live streaming and they want to open this presentation and see it, because it's often not clear through the live streaming, they can go onto our website and through to where we currently hold our agendas on the website, and a copy of this presentation is there now. So if someone wanted to open that, they could watch the presentation or go through the presentation as we present it here this evening. So councillors, just as far as the agenda is for you, what we've got there is sort of 6 sort of key areas. Probably the next thing I'll move to after introducing the agenda is really just to say, what are we asking for you or from you today? So what we've highlighted through this presentation is really the pathway to date. So there has been a significant amount of work done leading up to this evening, and really what we want to emphasise, which has really come out of all of that information, which has included 2 phases of consultation, is the case for change. And also what we've highlighted here in this agenda in this presentation is those 2 opposing forces, the 2 sets of views that have come out through those different sets of consultation. And from that we've distilled a set of critical success factors, and really those 2 elements, the 2 opposing forces plus those critical success factors were what we used to develop the brief for the consultants' concepts that are before you at the moment. And we'll finish off this presentation with just letting you know how we're going to undertake that community consultation for you. So Council, what we've got before you and what has been handed out is 3 separate concepts produced by 3 separate consultancies. And those consultancies have been given the same brief, and that was the brief that came out of the discussions that were held during the LTP process. So councillors, you'll recall that we had a lot of information, and we've been out through consultation through the inner city strategy, of which we had a number of views about the removal of city focus, highlighting a number of critical or concerning issues about what city focus creates at that intersection. But then following the second round of consultation through the LTP process, we had a number of submissions that said, please don't remove city focus. It's important, and it has a number of important values for our community and for the city. So those have formed the basis of that brief that we went to those 3 consultancies with. So Councillor, that's the intention of today, is really to seek your approval to go out to the community and to talk to them using these 3 concepts, which try to reconcile those 2 opposing views about city focus and give us an opportunity to sort of see some enhancements or see some positive change to what's currently there. Now I'll just hand over to Portia now just to move through the second part of this presentation, which is around that pathway to date.
Good evening. I'm here to tell you about the process of how we got here today, how we got to the point of offering these 3 concepts to the public. So here is the pathway of from the history through to today and where we're going and would like to go in the future. So back in 2013 through 2014, through to conversations that have been held this year, we've had a lot of meet and greet sessions with the inner city focus group. We've had inner city steering group meetings and a lot of conversation with the inner city partners. And a lot of those conversations centre around city focus and the issues that the retailers are experiencing. So we took those conversations into consideration and said, okay, how can we actually verify these through an independent professional? So we sought some independent advice from McDermott Miller, and so that's the economic impact of city focus, the report that was presented to you last year. This report goes through a lot of information on the values of the properties, the transactions around city focus, the pedestrian traffic and the decline of that pedestrian traffic, and it also concludes that while, yes, changes to city focus will not be the silver bullet to our inner city revitalisation, but it will add to the economic impact if there were some changes. From that point, also there was some historical studies. So back in 2006, you'll remember the Opus report for the CBD revitalisation. That had in there also the review of city focus and suggested changes as well to contribute to the revitalisation of the city. 2010, we also had the urban design framework by Brewer Davidson. In there, it also goes through city focus and recommends changes as well. That brought us through to 2013 with Rotorua 2030, which put the inner city in the spotlight and noted that, you know, the revitalisation of our city is a priority for 2016. The inner city revitalisation strategy that we have now dropped out of Rotorua 2030 and also went through 2 rounds of public consultation back in January for 2 months. We got 133 responses, of which 77 of those said, yes, we'd like to see change to city focus. The second round of consultation went through the long-term plan. We didn't receive as many responses then. We got only 19 responses to the inner city strategy and of which 13 said no, don't remove it. But we do want to see some changes, and it noted, a lot of the comments noted the sight lines, the traffic movements, but the need for an iconic location. So that brings us forward through to today. What we're asking for you today is a third round of public consultation, considering in the long-term plan, the inner city steering group was asked to go and have a look at some options for city focus, taking into consideration all of that history and all of the conversations and the feedback that came through all of those plans. And then what we're looking to do is bring that information back to you, to SPNF, on the 1st of October, and you'll have a much more informed, lot of information on how people feel about those concepts, and you'll be able to make an informed decision.
Councillors, so really the next section, and Portia's just going to go through it pictorially, there is an extremely strong case for change. As she's detailed there, we've got several sets of different reports undertaken at different times, 2006, 2010. We've got the work of the Inner City Steering Group and Inner City Focus Group around the revitalisation strategy. And also we have the McDermott-Miller report. So we've got a clear identification of some of those key issues that need to change to enhance that area of the city. So I'll just hand across to Portia now just to take you through those visually.
So the case for change is a demonstration of all of my conversations that I've had with the Inner City Steering Group, the Block Champions, the Inner City Focus Group, and those businesses surrounding City Focus. One of the key issues that often comes up is the visibility around City Focus, and that's from a number of contributing factors. This is the view from looking back down Hinamoa Street from Starbucks, and you can see in this photo that you can't see the building facades at all, so you don't know what businesses are here, what they're offering, so you're not encouraged to go and see on the other side of the street. Again, hidden businesses that you can't see the facades of what they're offering, what their business name is, and hidden water fountain within here as well. You can see that the building hides business activity. So this is a photo from Dunkin' Donuts. So while you're in Dunkin' Donuts, this is the view that you have. You can't see the activity in the business. So businesses such as Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks have lots of people moving about, having coffee, talking to each other, but you can't actually see that activity as much from the streets and from City Focus looking back, because this building hides a lot of that activity and vibrancy. In this photo, you'll also notice that the community police have the sign on the side of the building. While they no longer have a desk or an office in this building, the fact that we have community, that it's noting that community police used to be here, right in the middle of our city, is not necessarily a good showcase for our tourists. This is the view from Starbucks, so while you're sitting there having a coffee and a muffin, this is the view that you're looking at. Again, just the dated designing, noting that it's a policing centre. Quite unattractive architecture, this building. It was architecture of its time, no longer of this time. This building has had a lot of extensions to it, so it is starting to be quite dated and quite cluttered. I just want to highlight to you what the City Focus is doing to the pedestrian traffic, and probably this was not anticipated at the time that it was constructed. So as you're walking down, this is from Pukewatua Street, as you're walking down towards the City Focus, there are a lot of businesses on this side of the street, so there's not many vacancies at all on this side of the street. You can see the building in the background, but it's really hiding what is beyond it. But when you get to the building, this is the view shaft that you have. So it pushes you across the street, and onto the other side of the street, where again there's not many vacancies on that side of the street. What we've found is that businesses are moving to those sides of the street where the pedestrian foot traffic is high, but of course that leaves the vacancies on the other side. So that foot traffic that's coming down here to this building, getting pushed across this side, is also coming from Rotorua Central. And of course Rotorua Central has a high amount of foot traffic. As you come out of Rotorua Central onto Amahouse Street, there's only one crossing, so that's pushing you naturally to one side of the street. So the majority of the people are walking up this side of the street, and that natural line of sight pushes them to the other side because of the structures inside City Focus. The results are the vacancies on the sides that have the less pedestrian traffic. So you can see here the results of that, the natural movements or behaviour of people as they move up to Tanakai, cross over and up to Pukawatua Street. So you can see high vacancies on this side and high vacancies on this side, high vacancies down Hinemoa Street, vacancies that have been there for a long time. There's a vacancy in Hinemoa Street that has been there for over 7 years. Again, just that visibility. Nobody can see what the businesses are down there. I took these photos this morning, so these are those shops that were on the previous slide, and that's the results of pushing that traffic in the natural direction.
Councillors, the next section really looks at those two opposing forces. These are the issues that have been highlighted to us, particularly from the Inner City Steering Group and Inner City Focus Group. And so that was sort of the forces to the right-hand side of the slide in front of you. But the information we got back quite strongly from the 13 submissions that mentioned or were opposed to removing the city focus really started highlighting some of those other key concerns on the left-hand side. And really the importance or the viewed importance of city focus as an iconic symbol of our city. So it's at that junction of Hinemoa and Tanakai Street, so an important intersection. The strong attachment people have to the sails and the pillars and the structures that already exist there, and obviously concerns that when that development was put in place, because of that infrastructure above ground, there was a significant amount of investment underground, so the high cost of that development. And generally just the view that will this make a difference? If you change it, will it make a difference? So that real resistance to change. It's fine, it's good, it's served us for 20 plus years, it can continue to serve us. So sitting on the other side and just I suppose summarising what Portia has already said, it's that real pressure coming through that inner city and that revitalisation to address that negative differential impact, and that was that two sides issue. So that the impact on the streets on both sides of Tanakai Street. And clearly what we've highlighted in those pictures is that concern around the visibility to businesses and that blockage of those key sight lines. And also the need for traffic to flow better. Now that traffic relates not only to those pedestrians that are crossing over through City Focus, but also to vehicular movements, so the left-hand corners and the inability to move across either Hinemoa or through to Tanakai Street. So that loop road that we're constructing in that space. So obviously those come together as a real driving force for us to change and to try and address some of those vacancies and the business pressure on those two adjoining blocks. So that's been formed part of the brief that we passed on to the three consultancies. So the other issue we've got here is, well, what are the critical success factors that we wanted them to consider? So those are sort of covered off in the next slide. And really what we had passed on to those consultants as well was we needed something that was cost effective, and clearly that relates to the costs of the infrastructure underground and what we can afford in the way of substantial changes. The need to get a new sense of place, which is sensitive to that iconic location and the investment and the linkages that so many people have with that. The need for a multi-purpose space. Obviously there was reasons when City Focus was created, so how do we enhance that again and reinvigorate that space? And obviously the need to get that better connectivity to the adjacent streets and that flow of pedestrians. And clearly one of the other major issues that has been a problem in this space is those view shafts and those sight lines, which is also a key driver. So that's really been the basis of the brief that we supplied to the 3 different consultants. Sure.
So what we're asking for you today is to go to public consultation on the 3 options that we have here today, so that when we come back on the 1st of October you can make an informed decision based on that information that you have. For the community consultation, what we have available is opening up the ideas store again. This is the site that is behind the St Bruno's, that's near to the City Focus. We can open up in there, display all of the concepts, get people's feedback. We can get people's feedback in a number of ways, videos, and you can send in by email, by online form, by letter, by mail. So there's lots of opportunities to give consultation to the public in many different ways.
Councillors, I think the important point we're trying to get across here is that these are 3 concepts, and they are concepts only. So what they've tried to address is some key issues, 2 opposing forces, and also addressing some critical success factors. So that's what 3 consultancies have done for us, and we certainly want to hear back from the community as to what they think of those concepts. Are there elements of any of them they like, don't like? And how do we address the concerns that have been raised by the 2 different views around City Focus?
Well, thank you for the report, and before I open for questions, first I want to foreshadow that I wish to move motion 2, and so we'll now, thank you, and we'll open now for questions and questions of clarification, then we'll give the opportunity for anyone to speak. Councillor Sereng.
I presume, I cannot read the print, are the 01 page, and are they down the right-hand side there? Is that the 3 options? 01, page 01, analysis and design intent.
So each concept has 2 pages. They've got a main site plan and then they go into a little bit of detail. So you've got the first one, which is the first 2 pages.
Let's see.
And the next one is the 3rd and 4th page. And then the 5th and 6th page is the 3rd one.
So what are the 3 options?
So if you look at page 1,
That's what I'm looking at.
yep, page 1 is one of those concepts. Page 3 picks up the other consultancy's view of their view of the concept, and then page 5. So those are the 3 concepts.
As they're written here, 01, 02, 03, 04. We haven't got a number 5. We haven't got a 5.
So the 3 concepts are C1, so that's the overview of it, and it's got some detail behind it. So C1, 01, and then the one that's got the Opus logo in the corner. So the first page with the Opus logo.
So they are the 3 options.
Those are the 3 concepts that have followed the brief that we've provided to them.
Could you just explain the difference between a concept and an option? Because an option feels very like that's a given in toto, rather than the concepts going out as 3 concepts, of which people will widely give feedback. Could you explain that?
Councillor, we picked up on some of the discussion that came out of the long-term plan discussion. So if you recall, we had some strong views that had come through the inner city revitalisation strategy. And so those were about needing to address some key issues. What we got from the LTP discussions, and I mentioned those 13 submissions, that talked about some of the key elements that needed to be preserved about city focus, but also acknowledged again some of the issues. So those formed the brief to the 3 different consultancies to come up with a single concept of how you would address that. So they're not saying an option of do this, do a bit more of this, or do nothing. So the concepts are, how do we address the issues we have identified? So it's not a yes-no. It's 3 concepts that were given the same brief to address those issues. Now, how those 3 different consultancies have addressed those issues are shown across those 3 different concept plans. So what we want to do with the community is find out whether they like any elements of it, they like one particular plan, or they like a merging of some of those different concepts.
Could you explain, because I tend to agree with you, Councillor Serenk, I can't read it clearly, so for us to be informed, how will these go out to the public? It's all right.
So you'll notice the text is quite small. These were specifically designed to go onto A1 boards. The A1 boards are out in the Galleria, and so you can take a look at those after this meeting. They'll also be online so that you'll be able to open them, download them and zoom in and look at all the different parts of it in detail.
Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is, if we can't understand this, how do you expect the public to? I think this is totally premature.
Don't go out in this size at all. Could you give us that assurance?
Your Worship, the response that was just given said these were going as A1 boards and then these are going on as a website. Well, as an experienced web designer, no one in their right mind would even try and put this on a website.
I think we're arguing the technicalities. We don't have a printer big enough to get these on A1 for you in here, in the triplicate tonight. We're not discussing the concepts tonight. We're really saying these are concepts that go out for consultation. Put them out. And they won't go out in this format. You're absolutely right.
We need to get as much input from the public as we possibly can.
That's right.
And we won't get it off these drawings here.
So the A1 boards will be available in the Ideas store, but they'll also be in the library. Copies will be in the library and they'll be in our customer centre as well.
Your Worship, and just highlighting again, these are important to sort of have a conversation around as well. As Portia mentioned earlier, we've secured another Ideas store, so hard copies will be there and staff will be available for anyone who wants to come in and look at these concepts and ask questions about them and go through them in detail. So there will be the opportunity for staff to guide people through them if they so choose, if they don't want to look at them remotely or just simply look at the plans.
Councillor Whipper, question?
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to ask you, how long do you anticipate the Idea store being open for?
4 weeks.
4 weeks. 4 weeks in total.
4 weeks.
Okay. And so with this, and I believe that you would make this far more simple for people to understand. I've seen what you've done in the other Ideas store, so I think that's quite possible. So you're saying, so during that time, there is the opportunity, I'll rephrase it, is there the opportunity for people to take a bit out of each of the concepts and look at how that might be perhaps rearranged? And is there also an opportunity to raise issues, fresh issues that may not have been addressed in the past?
Yes, definitely. So, yeah, so when we come back on the 1st of October, it may not be definite recommendation of option 1. It may be a hybrid of a couple of them coming together, and it may even be some new ideas that a key theme that are coming through from the consultation that needs to be considered as well.
Supplementary question, if I may. So I just wondered, has much come through in the past? Because we have heard that people like the space for events, and you know it has been traditionally used quite well. Not so much since Dennis Oliver's gone, I have to say, but we used to have a lot of little events there all the time. And one that I heard regularly from older people that used to set up stalls and sell stuff and have things like that, that it was a little bit like a wind tunnel. So they still like the public space, they still like the open space, but in the winter, it was just like standing right in the tunnel and no one would come and buy anything. So I just wondered, have there been any thoughts of how to address that?
It came through very clearly in the consultation, in the previous 2 rounds of consultation, that was one of the key reasons why people felt connected to City Focus. So that actually formed part of the brief that went to the consultants, sort of the must-haves that they must include, and that was making sure that the space enhanced areas to use for events as well, and you know, for the charities that are in there as well, and the fundraising. So yes, it definitely formed part of the brief, and you'll see when you start to look into the detail on the boards outside that some of the concepts really does enhance some of that.
Councillor Bentley, you had a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We'll go round the lot.
What? Oh. Sorry, Charles. In your budget considerations, you've got 2K there. Does that include the hiring of the ideas shop? And, excuse me, why don't we have a 4th option being the status quo?
Your Worship, just in regard to the ideas store or the shop that we're using for the month, that was provided free to Council to undertake this consultation. So we're very lucky that that's been allowed for us. So it's a very positive opportunity, I think, and a number of retailers sort of see that opportunity to activate the space, particularly for vacant shops. So that's why it's been given to us at no cost.
Should also comment that we've got members of the steering group here. I'm sorry I didn't acknowledge you. Thank you, and for your contribution to this stage, and some street champions or block champions here tonight. So thank you for coming along. So it's not costing us anything. Great. Could you just clarify for me about the choice of the consultants and who, you know, tell me about their background a wee bit?
So the first one, the Opus consultants were part of the original revitalisation strategy back in 2006. So they'd already done some work on City Focus, and it's in their original 2006 reports. And also because they're local, so they know Rotorua, they know what they were looking at. The second one, Mansur Graham, is a consultant from Hamilton, but they have also been part of revitalisation of the city as well in the past, so we have worked with them before. The third one, Bespoke, is from Auckland. They are working with us on the children's precinct. So again, a natural choice because they know they've got some of the history around Rotorua, and they're working with us on similar concepts. So that's how they were selected. One of them was also recommended by NZTA as well.
Sorry, I heard on my left here this discussion about a 4th option. That was a question, though. Do you want to answer that?
Councillor, clearly that's always your option. One of the issues that we've had in the past is City Focus stays, City Focus goes. So we've had 2 rounds of consultation. Through all of those processes and through all of the work prior to that, we've identified a number of issues. So it was our view that we needed to actually put some set of concepts or ideas on the table for people to see how you might reconcile both opposing views. to achieve an enhanced or a refreshed space in the middle of our city. So really having gone from a recognition that there is issues, having 2 rounds of consultation on yes, no's, we felt we really needed to put out some context or some concepts that people could then say, I like that, I don't like that, this will work, this won't work, and that will all come back to you where you still have the option to say it's better not to proceed with anything.
Before this goes out for consultation, I'd like to see a copy of the brief, because I obviously think the brief would have had that we want traffic to grow right through the intersection. So that must have been in the brief, because each of the 3 have come back with vehicles going crisscross east, west, south, north, south. So I want to see the basis of the brief. And I also want, whether Councillor Rotorua wants it or not, the community have the ability to ask for option 4, which is the status quo. And there could, as some other people have said, there could be a combination of everything. I would also like to see a costing of each of the concepts. And obviously in the brief, whether the second design picked it up, whether there was some angst in the community. One of the big things is the canopy. They've produced 3 options of the existing canopy, a changed canopy, a no canopy. First one is there is a line where the old canopy was, but I'm picking that that's gone. And the third one, there's no kind of canopy at all, I don't think. But these are the contentious issues. The 2 are traffic in and out, going right through the intersection, and the canopy. I mean, we can titivate the existing structures whichever way we want, and to label these 3 designs of being the economic saviour of the inner city, I think it's a pretty tall story. Yeah, if I could. My big question is I want to see a copy of the brief to the 3 designers. Because I know I want to see the bias on which you went to these people with.
In a very clear objective about opposing views. It is very wrong to accuse council officers of demonstrating a bias. I see.
Whether there's a bias by seeing the brief.
But I rule for your comment that they have demonstrated bias. Do you want to answer those questions, please, John?
We certainly can. We can certainly get that information to you, but councillors, it was probably later on in the slides. I think it's about slide 23. I mentioned the opposing views and also the critical success factors. So that's what was communicated through showing them previous submissions. So, councillor, we just bounced out again. So, councillors, that's been the main. That's the main elements of the brief. Sorry, we're just hopping around again. So if we just go back to the slide previous to that, one more. So, councillor, you are correct in saying that was traffic and the need to address traffic flows of both pedestrians and vehicles included within the brief. It certainly was. There it is there. The increased visibility, so that was again trying to address some of those sight lines, and again the first point relates to that differential shift. Now, on the other side, and included within the brief, was obviously the key element that this is an iconic location and symbol for our city. So they've tried to pick that up through some of the design elements that you've seen coming through there across those 3 designs. Certainly the attachment, so we've included the attachment to the sails and the pillars. The fact that they then just provided some other options within that is just around those concepts. And obviously that recognises the degree of investment. So again, it was that try and pick up the key elements that exist and the value that City Focus currently has for many people, plus addressing those critical issues on the other side. And the next slide picks up on the other key elements for them. The cost effectiveness of those solutions. So again, you can see there that it's a lot of soft changes coming through in many cases, but also a new sense of place and sensitive around the iconic location. So that was some of the design elements that they needed to be cognizant of as they developed these concepts for us. And also, as a couple of councillors have mentioned, the need for this to be effective multi-purpose space. So hopefully that reassures you as to what the brief was that we provided through to those 3 consultants.
You also asked about costings.
Councillors, because we haven't as yet had any feedback from the community, we're expecting to come back with the costings to that 1st of October meeting. Again, the intention was, and we've been quite clear to the consultants, that it was to be sort of a cost-effective solution. I think the original figure that was recommended to them was approximately $500,000, so $500,000. We believe that there's some additional elements that obviously would go on top of that as they've tried to enhance their concept still further, but I think that's one of the issues that we'd have to look at unpicking through those identifications of the more detailed costings for you to consider on the 1st of October meeting.
Thank you. Any further questions, Councillor Rokawate? No. Councillor Ken.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have 3 questions. One, like Councillor Sturt, when can I see a copy of the brief, please? Secondly, what budget were these designers given to design to? And thirdly, how much did these designs cost?
Want to speak to that, Jeff? You answer, Jacob.
Your Worship, I said we can make the brief available, and certainly I thought I'd answered off that the original brief that we'd said was $500,000 was what we wanted to see spent enhancing this area. And finally, the last question was how much has each individual firm received to develop the concepts to this stage? Portia, can you use that?
So to understand exactly how much something like this would cost, I called around a couple of consultants, and it was ranging between 5,000 and 10,000. Because we wanted some of the work, we wanted some details so that they would model up the concepts so that the public could actually look at them and try and visualise themselves within the space and how it was going to work. That was 8,000 per consultant, and that was considered reasonable by the consultants that were selected.
Do I understand that you have spent $24,000 producing these pieces of paper?
That is correct.
Right, appear to be no more questions. Yes, Councillor Hunt.
Maybe these two can't answer it, but was this a similar proposal for when the Arts Village was developed? Because there was 4 drawings done up, and the community then picked the bits out of each of those drawings, and a final picture was, I mean, there'll be some of my council colleagues around the table will be at that decision making. I wasn't there, but I was involved from the community side, and I just wondered if this was the same process that was used for the development of the Arts Village with the Millennium funding.
Really similar to me, because at that time I remember coming to look at the concepts and bringing ministers of the Crown to see the concepts, going through what could be used and could be incorporated. It was not a 1 or a 2 or a 3. There were concepts that I think there were 4, and at the end what we came up with was something quite different. What you came up with was something quite different from those specific drawings. It was exactly the same process. Pardon? Not at all, Councillor Stewart. We're talking about what we agreed in the long-term plan to do.
But we won't go down that point. I don't see any point in rehashing.
Thank you.
Your Worship, probably the similar process that we've seen to this in the last few years is probably Eat Street. So we went to a design competition for Eat Street, and the shortlisted entries that we received, they did receive some funding to take their initial sketches in the design competition through to more detailed design plans.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to come across as trying to be positive. Thanks for the reports and everything that you've given that here, and tried to read it, and it does look exciting, but the best thing for me to do would be to get along to the shop also myself and go through them and look at it. And especially, I mean, we've raised the question of the city folks, and I noticed that the last consultation, you did say 19 submissions came in, but 13 were not disagreed
We're
with.
not at the stage of speaking to the motion about consultation. We're actually just asking for
That'll
questions.
come to my, that comes to my next point then, because you mentioned about October the 1st. Now that's going to be another council meeting, which means we won't get the chance to really drill down into it like what Councillor Swank asked earlier. Will it be able to go to a standing committee first before it can come to the first full council?
I did hear SPNF.
No, 1st of October is a full council meeting.
Could you clarify that, JP? It should go back to a committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll certainly, if that's not the committee, sorry, our understanding was that was the committee, so if it's not, if it's the council meeting, we'll certainly put it to the council meeting.
To the committee.
Meeting.
Yeah, it must go there.
But at the same time, I do want to say, I think there's some exciting things in that there, and a lot of work has gone into it. And, yeah, so I'll come down and have a look.
Okay. I've signalled now that I'm moving, and I call for a seconder for the motion that we agree to commence. Oh, Councillor Rokau-Atache. So you wish to now speak, Councillor Rokau-Atache?
Well, yes, thank you. Well, we've finished with the questions, 20 questions, have we? Thank you. I have found it rather an odd level of debate this evening, actually, Your Worship, around this, because we have been trying for some time to look at the revitalisation of, in some way, shape or form, and the city focus is part of that. So, to me, to a certain extent, I wish we had have gone further and just given the brief out, look at this area and see what you can do. You know, we're talking about wanting to make our city appeal to our young people, to our families, and for goodness sake, an iconic symbol 20 years ago, and we've seen the pictures tonight on the overheads. If that's an iconic symbol of this city, and some people in this city are hankering after that, then it's time to wake up. It is absolutely time to wake up. So I really I want to get this out. I'm not so much interested in what our councillors say. I want to hear what our families say, what our communities say. I did my time, like many councillors here, at the Ideas Shop. And every second person came, and particularly those with families, said, we want to get some oomph around. So that's who I want to hear. So the sooner we get it out, heaven forbid if they should say the status quo, because I don't believe the status quo is an option. However, it may well be. Goodness gracious, I hope not. But I want to hear what our community says. This is their city. This is their city, and it's about their future. So the sooner it gets out and we can get some feedback, the better. So I'm certainly going to vote in support of it, Your Worship.
Have anyone else to wish? Councillor Donaldson?
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, I'll be voting in support of taking this out for consultation as well. I recall, $24,000 for 3 professional concepts. I recall a local architect, well-known local architect, coming here with some pencil sketches of the Redwoods toilets and a mirror thing up a tree, and we paid $30,000 for that. So $24,000 for 3 professional firms to give us concepts, I think, is reasonable. That's my view anyway. This is a valuable space in our inner city, and it's not working, and I think Portia illustrated that perfectly with the diversion of foot traffic and the empty spaces that result from that. So we need to get the community's input on what they think the alternatives are.
it's a debate that's not going to go away, and I think it's a good discussion that we have to have with our community. And I think the Ideas Shop is a fantastic vehicle. It was absolute pleasure to be in there and have some of those discussions that took place, and the staff did a fantastic job. I just hope we could get the same facilitator that we had last time, because Sharon was magnificent. Look, the other thing about this site that I'm aware of is it's a completely different animal at night to what it is during the day. And it's a bit of a sip-head headache, and I get that from a number of people, including the guy who used to monitor the cameras and have to leave there at 3 o'clock at night, worried about his safety and in the state his car would be in if he got to it safely. So we need to think about that as well, and I see some potential solutions that the community can give us feedback on there. As far as a space for events, I think that the landscape has changed. So the night market, we used it for your choice consultation. So we've got a vibrant space there. With the new bus stop, Jean Batten Park has the potential to come along, and that worked fabulously in the Tulip Festival last year. So there's a space for community events. So I don't think we need to get too hung up on these things, and I think it's time to take it out and have a good look at it. So I'll be supporting it.
For all in favour of taking it out, also, Mr Deputy Mayor. But when we put the city focus in, the concepts were all designed for us. The sightlines were all approved. The whole concept of the city focus costing $8.5 million, which I doubt we've paid for. In these concepts here, most of them are going to bowl it. Absolutely bowl it. I just cannot believe that one particular group has had the influence. That's why I like Councillor Kent. I want to see the brief. I want to see the angles and why the designers particularly came up with these particular options. To put traffic back east, west, north, south is going back to the 60s. So I can't see that being iconic. And just because something is considered worthy and iconic, we don't go about changing the blue bars, the Tirunanga tea rooms, or the Art and History Museum's look, because they're dated and they're iconic. And I think some of these concepts are concrete jungles. Coloured concrete jungles. I don't think they're appealing in one. There's no green space, Councillor Hunt. Where's your green space? They've disappeared. Concept 1 and concept 3 hasn't got one.
Stuart, we're not here to argue the
hasn't got one green
concepts.
space in it. But Councillor Hunt is the councillor who's been leading the revitalisation, and she must have had some involvement in the discussions that led to the brief. That's where I want to get to. I support the Ideas Store. I support option 4, Councillor Rokawate, because I believe we've already spent a mountain of money in there changing the look of it.
Shouldn't be indicating what we support. What we're discussing tonight is to take options and concepts out to the public. We shouldn't be leading on our preferences. These are concepts.
So if the people come back and say we don't like any of them, we go back to square one.
Well, we'll see what the people
Okay.
say. That's all we're voting tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anyone
Right.
else
No,
wish to speak?
I haven't finished. I want to see costings on each of the concepts so the public can see what they're up for.
You've asked for that. That's
Yep.
right.
And I'm in favour of the Ideas Store. Yep. Let's go out and see what the public say.
Councillor Kent?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be voting against this because I think it's totally premature. The public told us in their submissions that they wanted to retain the focus. They said they wanted upgraded or modified. That's not what the submissions are saying in front of us here. I agree with Councillor Sturt that if you look through here, I think there's only one that even retains it, from my brief reading. But then you didn't warn me I would have worn my glasses tonight, not my contact lenses, and I might have been able to actually read the big print, let alone the small print.
Big print.
I personally believe that what we've got here is totally premature. I believe it's been put out on the wrong parameters, and I think it's about time we started listening to what our people are telling us and started actually listening to our councillors for a change.
Can't afford
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you. I'll just clarify something. I had absolutely no involvement in the brief. That's not my role. It's staff's role. My involvement is at the steering group, and Councillor Stewart is right. It is my portfolio, but to have any involvement would be a conflict, and I haven't had any up till now. There were actually 19 people in the LTP.
Yeah.
There were about 125, I can't exactly remember, but I do remember it was 68% wanted some change. Now, the 168 that made those submissions in the revitalisation strategy, they didn't bother in the LTP because they'd already had their say. I'm going out so we can listen to the community. I want an opportunity to listen to the rangatahi of today and the citizens those who built it. Actually, I've heard their voices. That's all I've heard. And I think they should move over and let some younger people have a go, because they had their opportunity 25 years to shape this city. There's a new group of younger people who are dynamic, who have fresh and new ideas, and we're generating economic development to get those families to come here. This is their opportunity, and it's their time, and it's their turn. Now, anyone of those businesses down those streets that spend all this money on signage, they're wasting it, because currently you can't see it. No wonder those businesses on those unwalked sides of the street have no customers. No wonder they shut their doors. Someone spoke about one particular group. Well, one particular group who have pushed this, they are the citizens who came to the Ideas Store, the 1,400 who turned up, some of them every week, to look at these boards, to have their say, to look at the boards we had there for the 2030 vision. Those are the people, that's the one group I'm wanting to hear from. My colleagues around the table, we will get our chance to listen to their views, to chew them over, to decide which points we agree or don't agree to fund. That's our role. It's not our role to decide whether we think professional designs meet our certain specifications. We've asked professionals to do it because we don't have that expertise. Our expertise lies in, can this council afford it? Is it where our community has asked us to go? And damn it, this is the one thing in the whole time I've been on council that everyone I know has said, can you do something? Their views have differed on what they want done. And that's why we have consultation. And that's why we have 3 different plans. And all of them, when you do read the small print, and it will be on the big boards, explain their interpretation. We know that this crossroads has deep cultural significance for our community. We're not ignoring that. In fact, we're lifting it. We're elevating that deep, significant aspect of Hinimountu Tanakai and allowing this community to feel that they have a part in shaping the future of our 2030 vision, not harking back and staying stuck in the past. So I want to go out, I want to look at shared space. Anyone that looks at anything globally happening, it is about sharing the space, not one group having full use. And if you don't know, do some research, because I know people in the community have done research, they want this, they support it, and it's our job to give them an opportunity to have their say and for us to listen.
Councillor Wepper.
Oh, thank you, Worship. I think that it's time. I think there's been rumblings going on in the community for a while. We keep saying we may or may not take the city focus out, and people are concerned who want to cling to it, and I know that some councillors do, and that's their prerogative. But I think it's good time to go out. It's not perhaps easy for us to read tonight, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, has already been said, it's just really about letting the community have their say. So I'm quite happy for it to go out. I know we're not supposed to have any preferences in our say here particularly, but I would like to say that just from a brief read of it, I'm actually very excited about the use of imagination that has come through, and I think we need to allow our community to use their imaginations a lot more and to think of something different and to feel excited about coming to town, because that's what it's about. So, and with my portfolio hat, I will just say that I really love the idea of rain gardens and plant beds to look at taking polluted runoff from the road. I hope that's, you know, and make sure it's really genuine and actually does it. And I like the idea of a sunny lawn and pop-up playground, as long as the kids aren't going to get run over with the cars zooming around. But I mean, we don't know.
No, we don't know.
We don't know. But it's just about using our imaginations and thinking of possibilities. And I think that's exciting. And I think it's exciting that we want to engage with our community. But I have seen some of those, that research from overseas, where it is about shared spaces and it is about allowing that to happen. I think that's really very, very important. So originally I was thinking, oh, do I have a strong opinion about the sales? And I'm not. I don't have. But I was thinking, oh, people are worried about us being cost effective. But I think through our council as a intent, we do want to do things, but we do want them to be cost effective. And I rely on Mr. Williams and his staff to make sure that we're keeping that top of mind as we go through this process, at the same time as creating an exciting city. And we all know that we can actually do this without spending millions of dollars, and I don't know why they spent $8 million or whatever it was the first time, but I don't think any of us would want to see that again. So I think it's great and I support it. Thank you.
Councillor McVicker.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've been listening with interest to the debate, and it's been a healthy debate this evening. To be honest, I'm betwixt and between as to which option we should take. I have to say it is a pity that we did not get the opportunity to read and digest this, because I do believe that, contrary to what has been suggested, I believe we should have gone out with a preferred option of the three, to be honest. And we've done it before with other areas. So, hey, we're going to consult our community. What are you laughing at, Your Worship? I think I know what you're laughing at. We are at least going to go out and consult the community, and that's what we have to do. But I'd very much like to think that we will have an opportunity, if not at a committee meeting, to have a workshop. We really should have had a workshop before today to discuss these very points. But hopefully that will happen in due course. So, yes, let's go out, hear what the community has to say, as long as we can present it in a manner that people can understand, because, to be honest, it's clearly pretty confusing, just looking at it briefly tonight. So, yep, I'll support going out and consulting.
That is our youth councillor rep. I hope this goes in, what is it, whatever it is, the big one, to the Youth Council, so they can have a look at it and give us a considered view back to A1. Thank you, Councillor Sarenk. I find this the oddest debate. If you look at the resolution, it's really just saying we want to take something out to the public. This has been worked up with a steering group, after the pop-up shop, after ideas, after the long-term plan. But I also want to remind councillors that we said that in the 230 vision, 216 inner city revitalisation was a top priority, because we've been rather stagnant over the last decade, or even going backwards. And we've got to remind ourselves why we're doing it. We're not just looking at an icon and saying, oh, let's freshen up this icon. We're actually saying, as a community, we need to go forward, and we need growth, and we need investment in our community. And to do that, we need to do things differently. And I find this really exciting. I'm not bothered by the detail tonight. I'll pore over the detail, and I'm sure there'll be morphing of these. They're concepts. These are not options. These are concepts that are going out to the public. Some of the things that we're doing, I think, are really exciting. I personally think the Green Corridor is exciting. Wait till it's finished, and then people will be on the Green Corridor. We also all agree that we need to do things differently about the empty shops. There wouldn't be a councillor around this table that is happy to sit there when we were elected and had over 100 empty shops. We've got to do something about that, and all of us believed in that. And we all said the inner city revitalisation was important. All we're looking at today, in my view, is looking at modernising. I'm not sure that we all have the same picture of what the city focus is. Some are talking about the sales, some are talking about the posts, some are talking about infrastructure under the ground, and some are talking about the policing station. We're actually talking about a space here, and a shared space, and all we're saying is we want to enhance it. We want to get people there, and that's part of doing things differently. That's the exciting thing that's got community beside us with our portfolios actually working with us in partnership. That's very exciting. And you're all part of that journey. One thing I did hear, and I'm sure Ron Finn had loved it to be said, but I heard it loud and clear from the community at a meeting when there was a call for change, was make it an attraction. Make it an attraction so people come into the heart of the city. Not sure what it was in their minds, but what we're doing is putting options out to the public. That's all we're doing tonight, to say, what do you want back? And you don't put a preferred option, you actually put concepts out in this, because these are creative concepts. We all want an agenda for growth. There wouldn't be a councillor around this table that doesn't want to see investors, and you know they are coming. We're seeing an increased spend. We're seeing more foot traffic going through the heart of our city. This is what you wanted. That's what we all wanted. And people now are looking at this place as a place to invest. Development is happening. The cranes are up. And we're all feeling excited by that. And yet here tonight in this rather peculiar debate, we're arguing about we could have done this better, I can't read this isn't good enough, you shouldn't have worked it up to this degree. All we're saying is staff came back with concepts, and we're asked as elected people on that agenda for change, take it out to the public and ask the public in various forms, what do you want? What do you want back? And we'll consider it and we'll have a report back. I don't see that this is really even debatable. We can't stand still as a council. We can't stand still. We're 18 months into this council and change is all around us, and change is energising our community. And I get that, and you all know that I'm out at meetings every night of the week and every day. We've got to keep the momentum going. I think this is exciting. We've got to reposition Rotorua. That's all we're doing. We're saying this has to be an exciting place, and the heart of the city is the symbol of the revitalisation that's starting to happen in our community. I think this is very exciting. It's the next stage. Glad we've got a free pop-up shop. Please thank the landlord. That means they've come to the party too in partnership, and I look forward to a report back to council, to a committee meeting, and if it's comprehensive, we are going to have to spend some time on it to get our heads around it. So I'm certainly voting in favour of this motion tonight.
I wouldn't disagree with anything you've said at all. But one thing I am delighted about is that we're actually going out with some options, some design options, because so much that we've consulted on lately has been the preferred option, full stop, and we've stuck with it. So this is good. People can have a go at it and have a real hash around as to what they like and what compromises might be able to make. But I plead that we do listen, that what people say, we do listen to what they have to say. It would have been, from my point of view, why I said why couldn't we have had it earlier. It's nice to be one step in front of the others. It's nice that as elected people we should be well aware when this went out tomorrow of exactly what it's all about. But we can't be because we haven't had a chance to digest it. So I won't be voting against it, and I am pleased that it's going out with multiple options, and we could probably come back with a compromise amongst the three. Who knows? Let's listen.
Yeah. And could I just, for the record, the statutory consultation process that we undertook on the Te Arawa partnership. In a in a statutory consultation, you must have a preferred option. This is not a statutory consultation.
Point of order, Madam Chair, that's incorrect.
Would you like to?
It is only a long-term plan that has a preferred option legally.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. The actual requirement, the best practice guidelines quite clearly say that when we put out an SCP, there is actually, for any statutory consultation procedure, it is actually a requirement to actually put a preferred option and to state that as a requirement.
Sorry. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Absolutely. Yes. We understand. I'm sure you'll be busy around that area though, Councillor Gould. We'll certainly note that in the minutes. Over for the resolution. Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Sturt, that we go into confidential. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, staff. Thank you for those from the public that have come tonight and the media. Thank you.